Paradise Lost is John Milton's most celebrated work and one of the greatest epic poems in the English language. First published in 1667, it consists of 10 books, later expanded to 12 in the 1674 edition, written in blank verse, telling the story of humanity's fall from grace. The poem explores complex theological themes, such as free will, disobedience, and redemption, while engaging with questions of authority, rebellion, and justice. Overview of the poem. Paradise Lost centers on the biblical narrative of the fall of man, as recounted in the book of Genesis, but Milton's retelling expands and deepens the scope of the story. The main events include 1. Satan's rebellion. The poem opens in media res, with Satan and his followers having already been cast out of heaven after rebelling against God. Satan, once a high-ranking angel, is now in hell with his fellow fallen angels, plotting revenge against God by corrupting his new creation, humankind. 2. The temptation of Adam and Eve. Satan enters the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve live in a state of innocence. Disguised as a serpent, Satan tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, which leads to the fall of both her and Adam. 3. The consequences of the fall. After eating the fruit, Adam and Eve become aware of their sin, experience shame, and are cast out of Eden by God. Their disobedience brings death and suffering into the world, but the poem ends on a note of hope, with the promise of redemption through the future sacrifice of Christ. Central themes. 1. Free will and obedience. One of the key questions of Paradise Lost is the nature of free will. Milton portrays both Satan's rebellion and Adam and Eve's disobedience as conscious choices, underscoring the importance of free will in the human condition. God permits their actions to allow for the possibility of genuine love and obedience. 2. Good versus evil. The conflict between divine authority and rebellion runs throughout the poem. Satan is depicted as a tragic, complex character, defiant, eloquent, and driven by pride. Milton delves into the psychology of evil, showing how it corrupts even as it presents itself as justified. 3. The role of Satan. One of the most striking aspects of the poem is Milton's portrayal of Satan. He is depicted as a charismatic and sympathetic figure in the early books, famously declaring that it is better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. However, as the poem progresses, Satan's character deteriorates, revealing his self-deception and ultimate defeat. 4. The human condition. Milton explores what it means to be human, with Adam and Eve serving as representations of all humankind. Their innocence, their love for one another, and their eventual fall reflect humanity's potential for both greatness and failure. The poem also meditates on themes of guilt, repentance, and the possibility of redemption. 5. Divine providence and justice. Milton carefully balances the portrayal of God's omnipotence with his justice. While Satan and Adam and Eve choose disobedience, their fall is part of a larger, divinely ordained plan that will ultimately lead to the redemption of mankind through Jesus Christ. Literary style and structure. Epic tradition. Milton draws heavily from the classical epic tradition, specifically the works of Homer and Virgil. Like the Iliad and the Aeneid, Paradise Lost features a grand scale, invoking muses, and describing cosmic battles. However, instead of pagan gods, Milton's epic is deeply Christian, with a strong theological and moral framework. Blank verse. The poem is written in unrhymed iambic pentameter, or blank verse, which Milton perfected. His use of this form allows for a musical quality while giving him the freedom to vary the rhythm, creating a solemn and majestic tone. Rich symbolism and imagery. Milton employs a wealth of imagery and symbolism, drawing on classical mythology, Christian theology, and his own imagination. For example, Satan's fall is often described in terms of light and darkness, while Adam and Eve's innocence is depicted through natural imagery associated with Eden. Milton's purpose. Milton's stated purpose in writing Paradise Lost is outlined in the first book, where he says he aims to justify the ways of God to men. This reflects Milton's intention to explain and defend the Christian understanding of God's justice and mercy, particularly in the face of human suffering and sin. At the same time, he wanted to offer a profound exploration of human nature, free will, and the consequences of choice. Legacy and impact. Paradise Lost had a lasting influence on literature, theology, and philosophy. Its depiction of Satan as a tragic, heroic figure has sparked much debate and influenced writers like Blake, Shelley, and Byron. Romantic poets, in particular, were fascinated by Milton's Satan, often seeing him as a symbol of individualism and resistance against oppressive power. Milton's grand epic continues to be studied and admired for its theological depth, its intricate poetic craft, and its exploration of the human experience.